All right, let's talk about something you probably see, every single day and don't think twice about it. The crosswalk. Yeah, that thing. But believe it or not, its story is absolutely packed with wild innovations, some huge cultural moments, and a whole bunch of animals? Seriously.
So, let me ask you this. What did the beetles, a zebra, and a pelican all have in common? I know, it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? But the answer is literally painted on streets all over the world. Just hang on and I promise it's all gonna make perfect sense.
Okay, so to really get why crosswalks even exist, we've got to rewind the clock. You have to picture a time when city streets were for people. You had folks walking, vendors selling things, horses and carriages moving slowly, but then everything changed. Those public spaces started turning into dangerous speedways for these newfangled machines. And that brings us to this year, 1899. This was a really big deal. It's the year the United States had its very first recorded death of a pedestrian hit by a car. It was a tragic sign that a brand new, very modern kind of danger had just arrived.
All of a sudden, just crossing the street wasn't simple anymore. It was a gamble. You had this incredible speed and power from cars creating total chaos, a real conflict between people and machines. And it became obvious, like really obvious, that something had to be done to bring some order to it all.
So where did the first solutions come from? Well, we have to look across the pond to the United Kingdom. That's where officials started getting serious, trying to figure out ways to create some kind of safe passage for people trying to cross the road.
Now, the first attempts back in the 1930s, they were pretty basic. We're talking about just some simple metal studs hammered into the road. Super hard for drivers to see, so not very effective. But then, in 1934, came a real game changer. They added these big, flashing amber globes on top of the poles at the crossings. And wow, that was a massive leap forward. Finally, something to grab a driver's attention.
And this clever idea got a name, the Belisha Beacon. It was named after the guy who pushed for it, the UK's Minister of Transport at the time, Leslie Hoare Belisha. And you know what? His legacy is still flashing away on British streets to this day.
Okay, so the Belisha beacon? A fantastic start. But the real breakthrough, the thing that would change everything when it came to visibility, that was still on the horizon. And it was a design that would become, literally, a global icon.
And this didn't just happen overnight. Not at all. After World War II, some really smart people at the UK's Road Research Laboratory spent a full 2 years just testing out different painted patterns. Their goal was to find something that was impossible to miss. They finally landed on these big, bold stripes. And then, on October 31st, 1951, yep, Halloween, the world's first official zebra crossing was installed in Slough, England.
But why zebra? Where did that name come from? Well, the story goes that when a British member of Parliament named James Callaghan saw the design for the first time, he just casually said it resembled a zebra. And that was it. It was so simple, so perfect, the name just stuck.
We also have to give a shout out to the lead engineer behind it all, a guy named George Charlesworth. His work was so important that he ended up with the best nickname ever, Dr. Zebra. How cool is that?
And of course, remember our question about the Beatles? This is it. The zebra crossing was catapulted to global fame thanks to the cover of their 1969 album Abbey Road. I mean, everyone knows that photo. That exact crossing, which was actually put there in the late 50s, is now a massive tourist attraction. It's even a protected heritage site, all because of a photo. So after the huge success of the zebra, you'd think they'd stop there, right? Nope. The traffic engineers in Britain just kept going. They got really creative and started developing an entire family of crossings. It's like they built this surprising little animal kingdom right on the city streets.
And the way they named them is just so clever. So you've got the Pelican Crossing. It's not just a bird name, it's actually an acronym for Pedestrian Light Controlled Crossing. Get it? Then there's the Puffin, which is a smarter one. Pedestrian, user-friendly, intelligent. It has sensors and everything. But my absolute favorite has to be the Toucan Crossing. It's wider, so pedestrians and cyclists can use it at the same time, because two can cross. I mean, come on, that's brilliant.
And the list goes on. This urban menagerie just kept growing. For a little while, there was a panda crossing. There was a tiger crossing with yellow stripes specifically for cyclists. A Pegasus crossing for, you guessed it, people on horseback. This whole animal theme even went international. You've got wombat crossings down in Australia and the hawk pecan over in the US.
All right, let's fast forward to today, because now the humble crosswalk has become so much more than just a functional safety feature. It's turned into a canvas for art, for community celebration, and for some really cutting-edge new ideas about safety.
Seriously, all over the world, cities are basically turning their streets into mini art galleries. In China, you can find crosswalks painted like giant piano keys. In Tel Aviv, beautiful rainbow crossings to celebrate Pride. There was even one in Zurich that was designed to look like a carton of McDonald's fries. It's just a way to add some fun and beauty, and it really shows off a community's personality.
One of the coolest new ideas really blends that art with safety. It's the 3D crosswalk. Have you seen these? They use these really clever painting tricks to create an optical illusion. So when a driver is coming up to one, it looks like there are actual physical blocks floating in the middle of the road. It's that moment of surprise that makes them hit the brakes.
But are they actually a good idea? The jury's still out. On one hand, you've got people who say, look at the data, they really do slow drivers down. But on the other hand, critics point out that they can be super expensive and a pain to maintain. And I think the biggest question is, what happens once everyone gets used to them? Once that surprise factor's gone, will drivers just go back to ignoring them?
So when you look at all this history, from simple studs in the road to 3D illusions, it really brings us to a much bigger question. What are our streets actually for? And more importantly, who should they be designed for first? And I think this quote from an urban design consultant, Sam Newberg, just nails it. He says, we need to shift from accommodating pedestrians and cyclists to actually prioritizing them. For so long, the whole idea was to fit people into a world built for cars. But the new thinking says, no, let's flip that on its head. Let's design our streets to prioritize people first.
So the next time you're waiting to cross the street, just take a second and really look at that crosswalk. It's not just some paint on the asphalt. It's a result of this long, fascinating story about safety and design and the fight for space. It's a reminder to ask yourself, what does the future of your street look like?